We are Siouxland proud. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
Good evening and thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Sophie Erber. Iowa's redistricting process continues tonight as the Temporary Redistricting Advisory Committee held another virtual public meeting today with mostly positive feedback being shared. Details now in our top story at 5. Taking a look now at the nonpartisan Legislative Service Agency's proposed maps. The most noticeable shift you can see is in the 4th Congressional District. That would expand from 39 to 44 counties, represented currently by Randy Feenstra. This reflects the urbanization there over the last decade in the state, with 68 rural counties losing population and metropolitan areas growing.
It should be done based on where people are and how we can best serve the community. The current first proposed maps do that. There are no state snakes. There are no districts that look like centipedes.
Iowa State Legislature will hold a special session that's set for October 5th, where they will then vote yes or no on the first proposed maps. Meanwhile, in Nebraska, lawmakers there are nearing the end of their legislative session for redistricting. Speaker of the legislature, Mike Hilgers, is threatening to end the session if an agreement cannot be reached by this Sunday. It is a move that would likely delay the state's May 2022 primary election. Lawmakers remain at an impasse over how exactly to redraw Nebraska's congressional and legislative maps. That's to adjust for population losses again in rural areas, plus gains in and around Omaha and Lincoln. An ATV accident over the weekend sent a Nebraska woman to the hospital after she was thrown from that vehicle. The Stanton County Sheriff's Office says a 46-year-old Norfolk woman was the lone rider on that ATV. That's when she hit the so-called guy wire of a utility pole. The incident happened around 5:15 on Saturday afternoon, just off 3rd Street in Stanton. That woman taken to a Norfolk hospital where she had to underwent surgery. Smoke and flames billowed from part of the roof at the New Orleans Superdome this afternoon. That fire started as crews worked to clean and prepare the sporting venue for painting. Part of the preparation included crews power washing that roof. You could see the images there on your screen. A Superdome manager says the fire broke out in a section of roof called the gutter tub. New Orleans emergency officials said on Twitter that one person was taken to the hospital with minor burns in this incident. Iowa Republican Senator and veteran Joni Ernst tonight is asking for changes on how exactly the National Mall in Washington, D.C. functions. Ernst and New Hampshire Democrat Maggie Hassan this week introduced some legislation to build a new war memorial right there.
This memorial will be 100% privately funded, and it will be in its rightful place on our National Mall in Washington, D.C.
For these families and for our entire country, it's finally time to create a global war on terrorism memorial on the National Mall.
A 2003 law prevents new memorials from being built on that National Mall, but Ernst and Hassan say it's time for that to change.
That our National Mall shouldn't change with the times of the United States is regrettable.
Ernst failed to get unanimous consent for the bill on Monday of this week, but says she does not expect that to ultimately prevent her bill from passing. A progressive group of lawmakers say they want to protect renters by changing which agency can issue an eviction moratorium. This, of course, comes after the Supreme Court struck down the latest eviction moratorium from the CDC. Our Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson explains.
After sleeping on the Capitol steps last month to draw attention to the nation's vulnerable renters,
for 5 days we experienced what it's like to sleep outside, unable to escape the noisy environment.
Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush is now back with other progressive lawmakers with new legislation preventing evictions.
People are being evicted as we speak, as we stand here.
The Keeping Renters Safe Act would give the Department of Health and Human Services the authority to issue federal eviction moratoriums. Last month, the Supreme Court ruled that the CDC cannot issue eviction moratoriums unless this type of legislation is passed by Congress.
But an extremist Supreme Court cut short eviction protections and put millions of people at risk for losing their homes.
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren says evictions especially hurt minorities.
This crisis falls hardest on Black and brown families because they are more likely to be renters.
Texas Congressman August Pfluger doesn't support the legislation and blames the Biden administration for overspending.
The bigger issue right now is what the administration is doing with all of our taxpayer money that's not actually going towards the people that need it the most.
Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson.
Time now to turn our attention to the weather. Meteorologist Victor Perez standing by. Victor, depends on where you were today. We had some wind, some sun, some fair weather clouds in Siouxland, but overall it did feel like fall.
I know you were outside. You probably got some of that wind with 20-mile-per-hour gusts in the region. Definitely a little bit of a cooler fall day, but at least we're seeing fall-like weather. Right now we're at 69 degrees for the high today. That is a few degrees below the seasonal average of 75, and our low was also a few degrees at 45, but not as low as we're going to be seeing as we go through the evening hours through and start off the day tomorrow. You can see overnight lows in the Siouxland area are going to drop down into the low 40s, some places even reaching up into the upper 30s, barely. We haven't had any frost advisories issued, but they are beginning to pop up over the last couple days. I saw some earlier over to the west by the Rockies. Now some frost advisories being extended over by northern portions of Minnesota, more typical up there, but we are going to see temperatures dropping down here in the Siouxland area, pretty close to that. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that for the first frost of the season. Might have to bring in some plants over the next few days.
All right, thanks a lot, Victor. We'll check back. In Yankton, South Dakota, we know is playing host to the 2021 World Archery Championships and World Cup this month. While the event helps draw more attention to the sport, they are also benefiting the community. With hundreds of people from 80 countries, all in Yankton, the president of the National Field Archery Association tonight says that the economic benefits for Siouxland are immeasurable.
And it's great for the city, it's great for the state, and it's great for the tri-state area. You know, we've got people flying into Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Omaha, you know, transport buses going around the clock. It's just awesome.
Call adds that hotels, restaurants, and other businesses are all benefiting from this major event. The archery competitors and competitions continue their games until the end of this month. It is homecoming week in South Sioux City, and this year's royalty are finding some ways to give back too. Today, members of the court spent time with elementary school students eating lunch, playing at recess, and even reading to the future Cardinals there. The activity gave these high school students a chance to relive their younger days, while also serving as a role model for the next generation.
It's really important because they look at us as role models, and it's the memories that they take with them, and we do as well. And just to, you know, spend that quality time and cherish with them.
Friday's homecoming game pits the Cardinals against Omaha Northwest. We wish them luck. President Joe Biden tonight is betting on millions more rapid at-home tests to help curb the latest wave of deadly COVID-19 cases. The Department of Health and Human Services announced a $2 billion plan to purchase rapid tests, but for now, retail chains like CVS and Walgreens have placed some limits on exactly how many at-home tests customers can buy. Rapid testing can be done anywhere and have a 20-minute turnaround time as well. Compare that to most school testing programs that still rely on tests being processed in labs, which those return results need a day or two to process. You know that person, the one who can see the silver lining in just about any situation. Turns out that person is probably reaping some health benefits too from their positive outlook. With more, here's ABC's Ike Ajashi.
We constantly hear that people with positive attitudes may live longer. Researchers at Harvard University studying optimism in men and women found a positive outlook could be linked to living longer. Although it's not known how this works, researchers say applying a cheery mindset every day can lead to healthy, positive change in your life. Health experts say optimism is partly inheritable, and other factors can influence it, like income, education, and geography. But at the end of the day, experts say you can learn to be more optimistic by changing your mindset every day. Some tips to have that upbeat outlook include looking for positive opportunities, like calling a friend while stuck in a long line, focusing on your strengths. If you're creative, try a project you haven't done before. Be thankful for what you have and share that with others. And finally, visualize yourself as your best possible self and work towards it. With this Medical Minute, I'm Ike Ajachi.